And here we go. Hopefully, we are good to go. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Eric Smith, and we're just going to jump right into my favorite horror with authors and podcasters, Meg Hafdahl and Kelly Florence. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Yay!
How did I do on the name this time, Meg?
Pretty good. I like it. Yes, good.
I think I'm getting closer.
Eventually, you're going to nail it, and then we'll throw confetti or something.
Yeah. By the 10th time, I'll be like, woo!
All right. I'm going to hold you to that. I want to see some confetti.
I promise.
So how are things out in your neck of the woods?
You know, it is snowing where I am. Meg, is it snowing where you are?
No, it's not. Is it really? No.
Yeah.
So
Really?
I live about 3.5 hours south of Kelly. So by Minnesota standards, I live in like the southern balmy part of the state. But I didn't realize you had snow up there. Oh my goodness.
It's been raining all day, and it's been turning to snow. And just north of us, they already have a lot of snow, like plowable snow.
Oh God, I'm not ready.
Eric,
We
how
had-
are you?
Well, actually, it just started raining an hour ago. I'm still wearing shorts,
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Okay.
Um,
So snow.
but I'm looking at my weather bug app because we've had a chance of snow predicted a couple times, but we haven't had it, and it's coming up again Monday. There's like a 40% chance of snow showers,
Oh boy.
but we'll see. We actually hit 70 yesterday,
Oh
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh.
I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been kind of nice.
That's a heat wave in our standards.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys recently had a book release. How long has it been?
Just a couple
Kelly's.
weeks.
Oh,
Yes!
I don't have a prop. Oh,
Meg,
no.
how dare you?
Of course, I have my copy here.
Yes,
Uh,
it's
came out just a
October
couple weeks.
19th was the
Yep.
official date.
Okay, great. I grabbed it not immediately, had to wait for a payday, but
I hear ya.
it was on my Amazon wish list as soon as I could put it on there, which is essentially just my reminder list. I have to go through there and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I meant to buy that book.
That's smart to keep track.
So the fourth in your series,
Mm-hmm.
and this one obviously all about serial killers. Now right off the bat, I might have a bone to pick.
Oh
I
no.
don't,
Oh.
I don't know because I haven't had a chance to read it, but I looked through the table of contents and I did not see the torso killer from Cleveland.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? If there's so many serial killers, we probably could do like 3 more compilations. But yeah, we did not get the torso killer in. But even with a name like that, I mean, we have to.
Also known as, well, even better, also known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
Oh, that's a great one too. All right. Okay, we're jotting it down.
And they were being pursued by Elliot Ness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
We-
Well, we'll get our act together.
We ran into this problem with our Stephen King book too, because there's so much Stephen King content, and people are like, why didn't you write about this one or this one? And we're like, we wish we could. We only had 30 chapters.
that's completely understandable, but I was hoping maybe even if the torso killer wasn't like the main focus of a chapter, there might have been a mention or
Yeah.
something.
Oh. All
That's-
right. You know what? The Science of the Torso Killer. I'm saying it right now. That's our 6th book. A whole book.
We're manifesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you can solve it.
You know
Oh.
what?
They were never caught.
I like that.
So, as with, well, your first 2 books and, well, Stephen King was mostly books and short stories. You didn't really do any of the movie stuff,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
We tried to
so-
just focus on the books and short stories in that one.
So the first 2 was movies inspired what you were talking about, and that's what you've done with this one as well. So I believe that some of these movies were inspired by, but some are based on. which to me there is a distinction between those two. So when you were looking at movies based on, which I consider the more factual, supposed to be the more factual, did you find a lot of errors or poetic license in the movies once you started studying the actual cases?
A little bit, and the thing is too, even though we talk about movies, this one also is TV shows and then some books, because there's been a lot of serial killers that they haven't been made into movies or TV shows yet, and so we had sort of a more broad look at the source material. And yeah, the based on truth, there's a little bit of poetic license still in the fiction, and for whatever reason, the filmmakers or TV showrunners decided to put their own twist on it to make it more cinematic or something. So we definitely pick out some of those things in the book.
One that, let me see, again, looking at the table of contents, one that jumped out at me, and now I don't see it. I thought there was something about Wind River.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yep.
I'm not seeing that.
Yep. About the Highway of Tears.
Right. Oh, there it is.
Yes.
As soon as you said it, it pops right
Yeah.
in there.
Yep. So that one is definitely not, factually exactly what happened. And I actually talk in that chapter about documentaries that are about the Highway of Tears. Wind River is, a fictional movie that takes place in America, and the Highway of Tears takes place in Canada. So there's a lot of, disparate things there. But in the end, it's really getting to the same point that, we're trying to make with that chapter. And so that's kind of what's nice about sometimes these inspired by movies. They might not have a lot of the facts, but they are trying to sort of bring home the same things that we need to be taking away from these horrific things, which, we're just, Kelly and I, at the end of the day, we're trying to mine the positivity that we could and the heroes that we could find. And so Highway of Tears is a really haunting story of women, First Nations women who are going missing. And so, Wind River is just an example of art that is inspired by.
Well, Highway of Tears, if I'm not mistaken, is also the name of a book.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one that is on my wish list, Amazon wish list, because I definitely want to pick that up and read it. Some of these titles surprised me. Let's see, The Stepfather, which I love the original movie. Had no idea that it was, what does it say? John List.
Yes. Yeah, it was amazing when we first watched the movie for our podcast years ago. We're like, okay, family annihilators, that is terrifying. And then to get into John List, and realize that the movie was inspired by his story, we were blown away. And especially Meg, this movie was part of your childhood.
Yeah, I love that movie. And I watched there was a TV movie on about John List that was very kind of profound in my childhood. It really stuck with me. And so I never put the two together. So it was kind of fun to do research and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, how many of these, if you know off the top of your heads, how many of these were movies you had just previously watched as casual viewers? And then how many were movies that you watched as research for the book or because you knew they would tie into the book?
There were a handful for me that I had never seen before. I hadn't seen the Richard Speck movie. I didn't see Rillington Place before, about John Christie, and just a handful basically. And then that's part of the fun of the research, is that when you realize things that are based on real stories, like Eaten Alive is based on or inspired by Joe Ball, the serial killer in Florida who was feeding his victims to alligators. And you just think, oh, this is a Tobe Hooper movie, and he wrote, or they created this movie, and it's what a crazy concept, but it's actually inspired by truth. That was mind blowing.
Yeah, and I think like the ones where I got to go back to, like Arsenic and Old Lace, Rope, both of those, I had no idea Rope was inspired by Leopold and Loeb, and that, and all of a sudden I can't think of the name of the Sandra Bullock one.
Murder by Numbers.
Murder by Numbers, yeah, is also so it was really fun to go back and watch movies that I had seen and with a whole new frame of reference. So I really that was really cool.
So what would for each of you, what would be your favorite movie that you used in the book?
Oh, that's a good question. And now
Yeah.
it's hard to say favorite because what we've done with this book is not put serial killers on a pedestal. We don't love
Right.
the serial killers, but the piece of art that I was most excited to write about was the chapter on the assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, and talking about Andrew Cunanan, but focusing on specifically that episode that took place in our home state of Minnesota. And it was fascinating to learn and to talk to people who were living through that time as it was happening. And so I think that was one of my personal favorite chapters to write about and research. Although it was horrific and very sad to learn about, I really appreciate what Ryan Murphy did with the series.
For me, I really enjoyed rewatching Rope, knowing about these two young men that it was based on, and doing the philosophy research into Nietzsche, because that's how they kind of use this sort of excuse of Nietzsche and his teachings when they killed. And so for me, I get to watch this Alfred Hitchcock movie, and like I said, it's like this whole new frame of reference. But oh my gosh, there was also a book I got to read, and this rarely happens. In fact, I don't know if it's ever even happened before, but I read a book in one sitting, and it was the America's First Female Serial Killer by Mary Kay Mcgregor, and we interviewed her for the book, and she wrote a book on Jane Toppin. And obviously, as a female serial killers just have a particular interest. I think for anybody too, because it's just so aberrant. I mean, male serial killers are so rare to begin with, but female serial killers, it's like such a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the population. So it's fascinating. And the book was so well written. So the fact that I got to read it and we got to interview her, that was a real treat too. So yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. Kind of backtracking to something that Kelly said about saying that you enjoy something, and sometimes that can be difficult. Actually, in my last interview, we were talking about a certain movie, and I was trying to express myself. I said, because it's not, I said, I don't want to say I like this movie. I don't want to say I enjoy this movie, but it was an experience. Yeah, it was I can't even say a positive experience, but it is a movie. It's a movie I own. It is a movie I will rewatch, but it's not a movie that I can say is enjoyable.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So I completely understand what you're saying as far as that goes. The same thing with some books. Certain books are like that. All right. And I think, well, first of all, is there anything else you want to say about the new book before we move?
I think something that is really important to Kelly and I is that we, as she said before, and I just want to reiterate, we don't want to put serial killers on pedestal like Michael Myers and Candyman. They're not mythical or fictional creatures or monsters. They're real people who killed real people. And so Kelly and I really wanted to come into this book with that sort of care and cognizance. So that was something that is really important to us as we, talk to people and stuff like that, is like, yes, you can love Rope, you can love Eaten Alive, because those are movies. But you know, that's different than talking about an actual serial killer. So I think Kelly and I did a good job, if I say so myself, of sort of separating those two in the book. That was something really important to us. But anyway, we hope people pick it up, and we'd love to hear what people think.
And
We're
also
sorry about the torso killer.
yes, but also note that we don't get into, I mean, we state some facts, but it's not gruesome and grisly and gory. You know, we pivot and we talk about it through the lens of different sciences and of course our interviews. And so we're not reiterating the same thing that you've read over and over in lots of true crime books, which is fine, but we wanted to have our own take on a new angle.
Nice, very nice. Well, I quite enjoyed the first three. This is high on my TBR.
Nice.
Looking forward to it. And I believe we can talk about the next one. I think it's been talked about in social media and things, but I want to save that until after our main feature.
Yes.
But so right before we get to that, though, I've been doing something new for the last few episodes of my little show, and that's I'm calling them fake ads. I'm trying to get a sponsorship.
Okay.
All right.
And I try to find something that ties into what we're going to be talking about.
Oh,
So,
I'm curious.
So this week's episode is not sponsored. I want to be clear, not an official sponsor by the game, which unfortunately I don't own at the moment. So hopefully we can see this. One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Yes.
I own that game. Yes.
Okay, so you're both familiar with this.
Yes.
Yes.
I also had that picture to show.
Oh, cool.
So for anybody who doesn't know out there in viewing land, this is a hidden role social deduction game, a very quick game where there are, it's for 3 to 10 players. I believe you always have 2 werewolves and at least 2 of the regular villagers, and then there are specialized villagers. Everybody picks a hidden role. You look at what you are. You don't show anybody. And then everyone closes their eyes. The different roles do different things. Roles might be moved around. Someone might get to peek at something. And then after that's all done, everybody just starts accusing everybody else. And you bluff, and you try to figure out who the werewolves are. And then once that's all done, everybody points. Whoever has the most fingers pointing at them is killed. If you've killed a werewolf, the villagers win. If you've killed a villager, the werewolves win.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun game. I highly recommend anybody out there who just once people are getting together in bigger groups, I guess. Pick it up and play it. It's incredibly fun. And as I said, I thought it was very appropriate for this particular episode.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And
I have to play it. Kelly has it, like she said, and I haven't played it yet. So we're going to have to make a plan.
You've never played it.
No.
Meg has not,
so much fun. And I think it's better than regular werewolf, personally, because that essentially regular werewolf you could play with infinite people.
Okay.
That game could take forever. This could be, you could be done with your first game of this in 10 minutes.
Okay, I like that. I like casual games where I can drink a Miller Lite and play, and it's not like super. My husband likes like Warhammer, Dungeons and Dragons, really intense games. I like more casual, like having fun games.
And also Miller Lite, you can sponsor this show also. So
certainly,
we have a lot of money.
I will take any sponsor I get.
Look,
Kelly,
at
do you
yeah.
I just have water in a Mountain Dew bottle.
Oh, well, you should say it's Mountain Dew, and then Mountain Dew will sponsor you.
I've tried to get them, but Kelly, when you play, do you play with the app?
No, we haven't done it with the app, but I know that it's available, so I should definitely do that.
It's really nice because it tells you when to close your eyes and who needs to open their eyes and everything.
Cool. Yeah, we have some other games with apps like that. I like that.
And it also has sound, ambient sound, so that when everyone's eyes are closed, if people are moving to switch roles or anything, it's hopefully covering up the sound of
I
any.
like
That is
that.
so cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's clever.
All right, so that was our non-sponsor for this episode.
Yay.
Now we're going to get into the main event. So the two of you chose for my favorite horror with, what did you choose?
Werewolves
Werewolves
Within.
Within.
Yeah.
Right, very nice.
We love
I-
horror comedies, and we love that this horror comedy came out and it's about werewolves.
I was slightly disappointed. I checked the Blu-ray release date. It's not till December 7th.
I
Oh,
know.
I was ready to buy it,
Oh.
not even having seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I watched it on Amazon Prime, which is fine, but I will definitely be going out and picking this up.
Oh, good.
So first, real quick, can one or both of you, if you want to kick it back and forth, just a quick synopsis of what this movie is.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, we're huge fans of Josh Rubin. He directed a movie called Scare Me. I don't know if you saw that. That was on Shudder, and so you have to. So it's so good. And so we were definitely like, okay, well, we're watching this. And it is I like to call it kind of like a Clue type horror comedy that has horror and comedy. A lot of times that you feel like it's a one or the other, but I really felt like this movie has both. And it is about this, I don't know, this lovable park ranger who is there, and he's in this like town, and there's all these tensions happening with oil, and yet now the best part, I love strangers stuck in a situation where there's a snowstorm and all the personalities are clashing, and there's a werewolf on the loose. I love it. Like, this is just so up my alley.
so it's perfect because it's a small enough community where you get to know the characters and the players, so to speak. And as Meg said, they are trapped together during a snowstorm, but unlike Clue, where they're stuck together in this place the entire movie, everyone goes their separate ways for a while. And so we get this added tension of like, wait, who's left alive? And now we can't keep an eye on everybody. So I love that.
I was surprised by that. I expected once they were in there for the snowstorm that they were in there. I've been telling people, even before I'd seen it, that I was calling it a cross between Knives Out and a werewolf movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was watching it, because of the quirkiness of the characters, Clue is what came to mind
Yeah.
as well. And I love so many people in this cast.
Yes.
I didn't realize were in the movie. I knew that, and I may butcher people's names, but I knew Milana Vaintrub was in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a fan of hers for a long time. I think she was doing Funny or Die.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a sci-fi comedy on Yahoo, which I can never remember the name of. That was a wonderful show. She was in that. And then even the guy that played Marcus, I know from the show Wrecked. And see, you can see me looking at my phone for people's
That's
names.
I want to look up because I want to know like the character names.
So
So I
Finn,
was like, this guy and then that guy.
so the lead Finn is Sam Richardson, and he's been in a lot now. But I know people know him from Veep, and I'm a fan of his from Promising Young Woman, and he's
Love
been
Promising
in
Young Woman.
yeah, and he was in a movie I think with Chris Pratt or somebody. I haven't seen that one yet, but at the same time, Werewolves Within released.
I want to say
right.
Tomorrow War.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. You know who Kelly and I, so we are huge X-Files fans. And there's a guy in this movie, he plays the oil tycoon guy,
Right.
Sam Parker.
Duval.
Yes, Wayne Duvall. Well, he was in this random episode of the X-Files that Kelly and I love. It's like a really cheesy season 1 episode, and we didn't realize it was him. And then
Ghost
I like
Machine, and he's
realized it.
Jerry.
It's Jerry from Ghost in the Machine. We couldn't even handle it, so we are very excited about that.
See, and I recognized him most recently from The Hunt.
Yes,
Yes,
he was
he's in
great in
that
that too.
Yeah.
And then you've got see, I don't want to ruin his name. The actor who plays Joaquin
Oh, Harvey.
from
Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvey. I don't want.
Yeah.
I
Wait, Glenn, I maybe.
Ian or something.
from What We
Yeah.
Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
Yes. It's a
I
great.
love Michaela Watkins.
Yes.
Yes.
She's Trisha,
I've
the one
seen
with
her in
the
lots
dog.
of stuff.
Yeah, she's in so much stuff. She's hilarious. And then I think his name is Cheyenne Jackson. How you pronounce
Yep.
it? Who plays Devin? Who I fell in love with him on 30 Rock.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna say he's so
He was
great on 30 Rock.
fantastic on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just seeing all these people that I didn't know were in it right off the bat, I'm just like, oh, this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, I forgot to say before we started this, I suppose we probably won't spoil the ultimate spoiler,
Okay, we won't. No,
but
no.
we can have other spoilers. So, folks, there will be some spoilers. So go and watch the movie and then come back and watch us talking about it. Yeah, usually I'm like, let's spoil everything, but this is
It's
new enough,
Yeah.
and there is that one particular thing that we can avoid spoiling, of
Yes,
course.
we won't spoil that. I agree. Yes. And see, that's what I love about this movie is it's such a whodunit. And I love the concept that instead of it sort of being like your typical like who's the murderer Agatha Christie, it's more like who's the werewolf. And
Right.
I love it so much. I mean, I grew up like my dad, he loved anything with werewolves. Like Silver Bullet was one of his favorites. And so I grew up just like any werewolf related, he loved. And so, of course, I, being his daughter, agreed. And so there's something like this sort of dichotomy or this sort of split personality about werewolves that I just find fascinating. And like American Werewolf in London, I consider that a horror comedy. And probably the best of all time. And so I don't know what it is about werewolves that lends themselves to horror comedy, but it's so good.
Also, I think that because of that dichotomy of it's a human being turning into a werewolf, do they remember, are they aware of what they're doing or not? I think they are classified as serial killers. So they're
nice. I like how you tied that in.
Nice. I do think in this case that's true.
Yeah.
And we have seen in different books, different movies, that it has gone both ways. There are those that don't remember what happened and don't even, at least up to a point, even know that they are the werewolf. But then we've also seen those that not only are aware of what they do when they're the werewolf, but I mean, there's plenty of fiction where they have control over things.
Yeah, and enjoy that part of themselves.
Yes.
Well, and to go a step further, they're product killers, not process killers, because in this movie at least, because werewolves kill for food. So they're just trying to get the product. They're not like enjoying the kill, or maybe they are, but they're not like making it linger or making it last longer or torturing. You know, they're all about like, let's get to the food. So I kind of like that about werewolves too.
One of the things I thought of while I was watching this, and I don't know if either of you are big Twilight Zone fans.
We are.
But my favorite episode of Twilight Zone is The Monsters Who Do on Maple Street.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had that feeling from this because people are accusing everybody, and it's going back and forth. We didn't have aliens sitting up on a hill orchestrating all of it in this, of course, but I did get that feeling from it. And as you said, it's a small enough cast. We really get to know who these people are. One of the other things I was thinking was I have not seen a group of characters this quirky since the last time I watched a John Waters film.
Imagine if John Waters showed up in this.
He would have fit right in.
He would have.
But yeah, Sam Richardson was fantastic.
Oh my God, he's just so lovable.
Yeah, I immediately shipped he and Milana Weintraub's character because they're just so adorable together.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Yes.
And give me people bonding over a shared piece of literature. Like I'm done.
Yes, I love the axe throwing scene. I love oh my gosh, there's so much. But I love the whole thing about like her dog being eaten by the werewolf, and like her just like, Michaela Watkins, she's just like bringing it to a whole nother level. Like she's just so extreme.
Yes. And she's more upset about that than when they find
Yeah, a human being.
Yes.
Yeah.
my
I mean,
dog.
I'm kind of like that in horror movies though. So, I mean, my 10-year-old and I were watching the original Halloween. He wanted to see that. And I didn't really remember that a dog dies in that movie. And then it was like, oh yeah, I'm starting to realize, and I'm like, I know he's not okay with that. And like, he was fine. He got through it. They like show it off screen, so it's okay. But like, that is so much more upsetting to him and to me, to everyone, than like all the murders that take place. So I guess maybe I'm on Michaela Watkins' side in this.
Don't say that, Meg. Never.
For a while, I had this crazy idea that her dog was the werewolf.
Oh, I like
I
that.
like
That it chewed through its own leash
Oh,
and ran off and was because I had no idea I had no idea where this was going to go, who it was going to be, or if there was more than one or anything.
Yes.
So I was just like, that would be a great twist.
You should write a fanfic about it. I kind of like that.
Or the dog.
Fanfic. I would read that. That sounds
I
good.
would
They do such a good job. The director and the writer, they do such a good job of really making it seem like anyone can be the werewolf. Like
Absolutely.
at every moment, you're like, oh my gosh, it could be that person, it could be her, it could be him, and that's so fun. And it's sort of like this active movie watching instead of passive movie watching, which I think we're so used to. But it felt very active to me.
The other thing I appreciated is that they were bringing science into it. Like they had a scientist who was actually investigating things. And Sam Richardson even has a line about science in it. And I'm like, oh, I love this. Like, trying to bring logic and science into, wait a minute, like what is actually going on?
A very quirky scientist.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, she's gathering evidence. She's using her scientific equipment. She has her report. She's doing sequencing. And then, yeah, she at one point, she's not happy with the results.
Yeah.
They do play it so that anybody at any time, because when we're seeing things happen, we're not seeing other characters. So it's not like we can go, oh, we can eliminate this person, because they're standing there. We have, except maybe, I guess, Michaela, because her husband got dragged out of the bed while she was lying there.
Right.
Okay, that's true. Good point.
Now that reminds me, speaking of games, we talked about the game. This movie is based on the game Werewolves Within. We have never played it. Or Meg, have you played it yet?
No. Mm-mm.
Eric, are you familiar with the game, the video game that it's based on?
I am not. I knew that it was based on a game, but I am not familiar with it at all.
Yeah, so I think that would be probably really fun to play now, knowing this movie and the structure, because that sounds like a really fun video game too.
It does. And I think it's so random that this movie is based on that video game, because it's like there's so many more well-known video games out there. I mean, I'm not a video game expert, but I mean, certainly like my husband and my boys haven't played it, and they're pretty, well versed in video games. So I think it's cool that it's kind of this random game from a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I would say any movie that I've seen based on a well-known video game has not been good.
Well,
yeah, exactly. I've heard
so maybe we need to take these lesser-known games.
Video game movie, because video game movies just aren't great usually. So yeah, agreed.
So yeah, just everybody. I loved the let's see their names, Gwen and Marcus.
Yes. Oh yes.
And the deaths. Some of the deaths in here were just out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just completely insane.
And you're like, what? Yeah,
And that's the
I
thing
know.
too, because sometimes with horror comedies, you don't know if they're going to go there or actually kill anybody or if it'll be gory at all. And they went there, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, see, I'm even though I said the only thing we're not going to spoil is the big thing at the end, but I've kind of not spoiled. There's more going on than just a werewolf. Is that
Yes.
Yeah.
yes?
Yeah.
I don't. Hopefully that doesn't spoil too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, we haven't. I guess we didn't really touch on where all this initial tension, is coming from. You mentioned there's the oil man or the
Yeah.
gas guy,
Yes, that's right.
and he's
Yeah.
trying to buy up all the properties in town.
Right.
And there's a couple holdouts.
Right. So there's that tension, which I think is a great underlying, thing it's like already people don't like each other and there's reasons to be arguing. I love that.
And they hint to politics and political views and
Yep.
everything else happening, bubbling under the surface. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a good setup of group of people for characters that it's the perfect stew.
Mix.
Not of stew or
Yeah. Well, and
Sure.
I also love at one point in the movie, near the end, like kind of near the end, where you're starting to think, wait a minute, is there even a werewolf?
Yeah. It's like, maybe this isn't
I
even
had that.
And then they kind of make a joke like that would be lame if there wasn't a werewolf. So you're like, okay, like there's gonna be a werewolf. Like, but I got to that point where I was like, oh my god, what if there isn't even a werewolf this whole time? So it really plays
is
with
gaslighting us. Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, which again goes back to the monsters are due on Maple Street, where if we forget about the actual aliens that are on a hill, it's the
Right.
neighbors accusing each other of being
Right.
alien or outsider, and none of them are.
Right, exactly.
And yeah, there was a point, especially with so much of the things that end up happening. It's like, is this all just mass hysteria?
Yeah, you do think that. You're like, oh my gosh, like maybe I've been led astray.
Well, now that I think about it, there was that eternal flame.
Yes.
What if there had been a gas leak?
Oh,
Affecting everybody.
Another fanfic.
Here we go.
That is good.
I like that.
There's even a point, again, it could be anybody. There's a point where I'm like, maybe it is Sam Richardson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You go through the whole gamut and then you're like, but I don't want it to be that person. But maybe it is that person. But then that person dies and you're like, okay, it's not them. And,
or and they'll come back to life. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Maybe they're zombies now. I don't know.
I was, how there was a point where so Sam Richardson gets wounded, and Cecily goes. She says, "I'm going to get the first aid kit. You're not going to die.
Yeah,
I'm going to go get the first aid kit." And she walks off, and his head drops back, and then he kind of sits back up again. And I was like, "Oh crap! Is he healing? Is he the werewolf?"
Yes, I know. That's what's so fun about it. Because like I said, it's so active. It's not like you're laying there just like letting things happen. It's like you can't help but just be like, wait, what's this happening? And Josh Rubin, the director, did such a good job of like these little shots that have that little bit of suspense in them where it's just like gives you a second to think about it. And then it's like, no, I think there's like at one point he's like holding a gun on her or something like that, where she's like, or no, she's like, smell this or something. There's some kind of
the knife. Yes.
Interaction, and you're just like, what's happening now? And it's like this weird suspense, and so it just keeps you entertained and active the whole time. I love it.
Right. She finds an article about two maulings in some place. I don't remember the name of it. And while she's looking at that, he's opened up a drawer. They're in the gas man's room, and he finds a bundle, and he unwraps it, and it's a knife. And she says, "Hey, didn't you say you were in this town?" And he turns around and he's holding the knife, pointing right at her.
Yeah, and you're like,
and holds on that, and then cuts to a different scene.
Yes, and you're just like, oh my god.
And it's like, is it him?
Yeah.
Or is he now thinking it's her and he's going to defend himself? What is going on?
Yes. Yeah. It's really fun. And I feel like it just adds this, like, I love horror, but I love comedy and I love mystery. And it has such a great mystery. I'm a big Agatha Christie nerd, and it has just that great mystery element to it that not all horror movies have.
And the other thing that we've talked about before in a lot of horror movies and TV shows that we love is this perfect setup of being trapped in this place and you just can't get word out. It's like an island situation or a snowstorm situation or whatever it is, cut off from the outside world, and you're going to have to solve it yourself. There's no cell phone, there's no police coming. Like, here we are, we have to deal with this. And that's such a great, and Meg, well, we both know this from writing fiction, but like, that's the best scenario to be in
Yeah.
because there's
Anytime,
no doubt.
anytime you can get cell phones out of the mix, then you've got a horror movie.
Oh, I love isolation horror.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And which I feel is something John Carpenter has done a lot of.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
With,
yeah.
What, Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, The Thing,
Mm-hmm.
Ghosts of Mars, if you want to go to
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't like. But I've always considered him. I off the top of my head, I can't think of every John Carpenter movie, but
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
to me is isolation horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think isolation just on its own is scary. Even if you don't have a monster. I mean, the way that the world works right now, if you don't have your phone working, I mean, that right there, you start to have heart palpitations. And then if you add, like, okay, now you're in a situation with people you don't like and that you suspect. Oh yeah, and now there might be a werewolf coming to eat you. Like, it's just like, it just keeps going. So yeah, I think isolation on its own, like, as humans, we don't even like that. So it's just, yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm incredibly glad that you guys picked this movie, and I got it's been on my watch list, but this pushed me to watch it.
Good.
The dialogue is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I think between Finn and Cecily, or Sam Richardson. Um, just that introductory scene with them when they're walking around the town and she's introducing him to everybody and they're just chatting and she's got her quirks and she's funny and he's just learning who these people are and what he's in for.
Mm-hmm.
And just absolutely loved it. I also sort of envisioned this could, I think, easily be a stage play.
Yes, I have said that about this and Josh Rubin's other movie, Scare Me. I feel like it's very theater and it would work. And as a former or maybe current, I'm not directing anything currently, but who knows, a theater director, it just feels like, yes, these are the characters and how you introduce them, and it works.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. It has a very theater ness about it, and the interactions and the quick wit. It has that, like, again, I think that's why people have mentioned Clue before too with this, because it's just like fire back and forth, back and forth. And sometimes, I mean, I think I've watched this movie 3 times because there's so much, like, back and forth, and I've missed things, and it's fun to, like, get back into that dialogue because it's just, yeah. It's very good, and again, with that isolation, I think a theater would work really well to have them trapped in there. I love that.
Yeah. And
let's adapt it. Let's go, all 3 of
us. Agatha Christie too. That's why Agatha Christie stuff makes such good theater. It just it all fits.
Excuse me. Okay. Since we do have a time limit, is there anything else? Any final thoughts on the movie?
I say check it out, whether you are a horror fan, a comedy fan, just a film fan. I think you will find something enjoyable in this movie.
My 10-year-old has a very strong opinion. He loves horror, but he thinks that horror and comedy is not something that works together. And I have told him, he says this he's never seen a horror comedy, but he's convinced that it's just not possible. But horror and comedy go together like peanut butter and jelly. And I'm going to teach him this someday. And this is a movie I would use to show him that it is possible. So, yeah, I mean, it has this is a movie, like, for instance, my mom, she's not really a big creature horror person. She likes more like the true crime based stuff and serial killers and that kind of thing. She loved this movie because it's funny and the good characters. And so I think it has like a really broad appeal, which maybe sounds bad, but it's not at all. I think it just has something for everybody. So check it out.
Absolutely. You did mention the director is Josh Rubin. The writer is Mishna Wolf.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is such a cool name.
Come
Yeah.
on. And I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
It was $4.99 to rent for 48 hours. And the Blu-ray DVD, as far as I know, comes out December 7th.
Yeah.
And I will definitely be picking it up. Hopefully it'll be loaded with extras.
I hope
You
so.
know, I just saw a tweet about it today that it is loaded with extras, and now I'm very intrigued.
Oh, good.
This is why I still get physical media.
It's worth it, 1000%. I love director commentaries. I love all the extra deleted scenes. I love bloopers. I love it all.
Absolutely. Oh, I would love a commentary with director, writer, and any of the cast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be cool?
Just seems like that would be, they're all such funny people.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It seems like it would be a great commentary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Werewolves Within. So before we go, let's talk, if we can, a little bit about your next The Science of book, which is The Science of Witches, correct?
Yeah, witchcraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Science
yeah.
of Witchcraft is what it would be called?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And I've
Okay.
said that we've done so much research now, Eric, that I think Kelly and I are witches at this point, right?
Yeah, I think we are definitely able to scry and manifest and all the things.
Yes.
Not really
Now,
as Christians, but
are you doing the same thing where you're using movies as a jumping off point? Are you mixing books in as well?
now for this one we're focusing solely on movies and television shows. We might bring in,
Okay.
literature that it was based on this, but we're doing movies and TV shows, and we're focusing on a few less because there's so much to cover that we wanted to really focus on all of the elements in a few, well, not a few, but many horror
Yeah.
movie TV shows.
We cut it down a little bit because we were like, okay, we need, like, there's so much information that we wanted to make sure that we, so I think we went down to like 23
Yeah.
chapters instead of 30, because we just wanted to make sure we were really focusing on the really cool things. And we have so many great interviews.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. And just, we learned so much, especially after serial killers. And I'm not saying witchcraft. There's some, dark history there too, but there was some a little more fun, lighter topics, which was good for us as well.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you can answer this, if you're allowed to answer this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there a chapter about Sabrina the Teenage Witch and or the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
1000% yes. To both of those questions. So
Yeah,
yes.
how could we
Nice.
not?
And
Now,
we may have interviewed a mortician for that chapter, which is fascinating. Just wait until you read that interview. It's going to blow your mind.
Nice. Well, I used to watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I haven't actually seen the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina show. I've read the comic book, which I loved,
Yeah.
I think you
but I
like
just
it.
have not gotten around to watching the show.
We actually talked to one of the writers of the show too, so of
Nice.
Chilling Adventures. So yeah, so we run the gamut. I mean, we go from Death Becomes Her and Witches of Eastwick and Eve's Bayou. What else? I mean, we have a lot of good ones.
I assume, or is there any crossover with any of the other books?
Well, we talk about, we reference how we've talked about witches before, but then we always try to take a new angle so we're not repeating ourselves. So we don't write about Carrie again, for example.
Because, well, my thought was the witch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we didn't get into the witch in this book, because we want to, we don't want to be too repetitive, but I'm sure we mention it, and I don't know, it's just it's a fun experience for Kelly and I because we love horror. We want to be witches when we grow up, and so it really worked out well.
Very nice. Well, it's another one that I'm looking forward to. Do you have the next one planned?
We've got some ideas rolling around, but nothing solidified yet. So
No,
Okay.
we'll
Of course,
let you know.
yeah.
And is there anything else that you're currently working on? Anything you want to plug?
Well, Meg just had her third book of short stories released a couple weeks ago, Twisted Reveries 3.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a book of short stories. They all take place. They're all kind of, I call them antique. They all take place about World War II or before. So I did a lot of historical research for them, but they're all horror stories. And I'm working on a novel. We're working on projects together. So we're always, to use a witch metaphor, we always have our cauldron that we're stirring and getting into mischief. So yeah.
Oh, well, if we ever talk about witch stuff, I have a game that
Ooh.
cannot sponsor my show.
Oh,
That you mentioning cauldrons.
Oh,
okay.
I have a game
okay.
cauldron in it. All right. Excuse me just a second. Getting a little dry in the throat. Talk amongst
Yeah,
your.
yeah. All right, I'll take a sip too.
Oh, it's a drinking game. Well, I'll take a sip.
Okay. So where can people find you online if you care for them to find you?
Yeah, so you can find both of us on our website for our podcast, horrorrewind.com. We also each have our own websites, meghafdahl.com and kellyflorence.com. Meg, do you want to talk about our other social media?
We are both on Twitter, Kelly Florence, or at Meg Hafdahl. We are both on Instagram. We're both on Facebook. We also share a TikTok where we do science facts and we try to be cool.
And
With, like, the young people.
TikTok has some nonsense every once in a while.
Yeah, we do some silly stuff on there too. So yeah, that's that we've been having fun with that.
Great. I meant to ask, how is the podcast going?
Yeah, it's great. We today's episode we talked about Halloween Kills, the new Halloween movie, and we're focusing on pretty much new horror now because sometimes we go back, but we're just kind of keeping up with the zeitgeist.
Yeah, there's so much new horror that we enjoy talking about and keeping up with.
Well, I'll ask. For some reason, I seem to be asking everybody this. Have you seen *Malignant*?
Yes, we loved it.
Yeah, we loved it.
That's what I like to hear. I don't know. It's such a wild movie, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And people were really shitting on it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to watch this and see. And I just enjoyed the hell out of it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe it's kind of crazy, but I don't know. Maybe I just have more of a wild imagination than some people. I don't know. It's like some people, it seemed like they just couldn't like suspend their disbelief enough or something. But I think it's great.
And also, I feel like sometimes people will jump on the bandwagon to be mean to a horror franchise or movie without, actually giving it a chance. And we're gonna try to always go in with an open mind.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. I loved it. I did see. Yeah, I saw both ends of the spectrum. I think initially I was seeing people talk about how much they loved it, and then I just started seeing the people saying, "I don't get it. Why are people saying they love this? It's not good." But I do think, I don't know. I think maybe the trailers set expectations that were blown out of the water.
Maybe. I mean,
Maybe.
and I think expectation when you go into a movie that's so important, like whether you have a high expectation or low expectation can really like, you know, sort of decide whether you're going to enjoy it or not. But I enjoyed it. I was smiling during the movie. I was just like, yes, like I loved it. So I'm not going to let anybody on Twitter tell me different.
Hey, so that reminds me, I don't know, Meg, if you've watched this yet, or Eric, but you need to watch The Deep House.
Okay.
It's a haunted house underwater. I know that sounds wild, but I promise, go in and watch it.
Okay.
I've seen people talking about that recently.
I just watched it over the weekend.
Or me, a haunted house underwater. I'm there.
Yeah, go. Just go. I promise.
Where is it available to see?
You know, it's like through Apple Plus or Apple TV, whatever it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
All righty. So, if you guys could just hang on for a minute while I do my outro.
Absolutely.
So, thank you both very much for
you. Anytime.
Talking about such a wonderful movie. So, folks out there, I'll have links for things, their websites and such, in the description below. I don't know what next week's episode is going to be, but I will have it in the description below once this goes up. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I think that covers everything. So once again, thank you to Meg and Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Anytime. And to you folks out there, that's all I've got. So until next time, read more books.